All right, so again, I drew the triangle, not needed. If you can do it with the letters, that's totally fine too. But from the letters, you should realize that you don't have two of the same letter. So we had to find angle C first. Angle C, do 180 minus 52 minus 78, and you get 50 degrees. And then C is your complete ratio. So side C, which is 26, over the sine of angle C, which is 50, would equal B over sine of B, which is 78. And 26 over sine of 50 would equal A over sine of A, which is that 52. Cross, multiply, and divide. Be careful with your parentheses or how you what order you hit enter. B should be 31.20 and A would be 26.75. This would be feet for both of these if it asks for units. Most likely on your quiz, on your test on this stuff, it will be either fill in the blank where you don't need the unit, or it will be multiple choice for this kind of a question. We haven't made it yet, okay? But if you leave off the unit, most likely on Canvas, I'm going to want you to. Just know that it is part of it. Yeah. 33. Oh, I just deleted what I had. Yeah, that's right. 33.2 is what it should have been. It was 33.198, so it rounds and rounds. There we go. Okay. So we good on what we did yesterday? Everybody's good on law of signs so far up to this point, yeah? So the tricky part, the catch to law of signs, is this last thing, which is called the ambiguous case. If you did see law of signs last year, you may have skipped ambiguous case. Okay, maybe if they baby step their way in, they don't do it. If they did, fantastic, this should seem familiar. But the catch with law of signs and the information that's given to you is that if you are given two sides and the non-included angle, so if it spells that word forwards or backwards, okay, then there could be something called an ambiguous case, which means I can basically take those same measurements and I can make two different triangles from them. I can either make one normal triangle, and that's the first case like we're used to. I can make, don't worry too much about the right triangle. This is not going to happen. These are your options, but this won't happen in here, okay? I can actually not form a triangle, like the little hinge side might be not long enough to hit the other side, and then it would be a no solution. Or, best of it, you could get two different triangles. So if I literally gave you two pieces of, let's say I cut two pieces of string, and I told you connect these two pieces any way you want, but the third side has to join with this specific angle. So I gave you those little parameters, and I split it up and I gave them out. You could technically form two triangles. You could either form a triangle in which you hinge that side A in, and it makes an obtuse triangle like that, or you can swing it out, and it makes a triangle like that. Both of these triangles are correct, okay? So it's possible that you can get two completely different triangles with the same given information. So this is how we figure that out, okay? We assume that there is two triangles when we're given this kinds of information until we prove ourselves wrong. So you're going to get given two sides of the non-included angle. You're going to use law of signs to find the first missing angle. Let's say that letter is B. It could be A, it could be B, it could be C, but let's say it's B that we're going to find. We're actually going to call this B1 because we're going to assume there's another angle out there. Then we'll take B1 and we're going to subtract it from an 180 and we're going to make that B2 and we're going to say that goes with the second triangle. We're going to solve the first triangle like we normally would, calling the missing things A1, C1, whatever it is. And then we're going to go to the second triangle. We would take the two angles we have, subtract them from 180 to find the third angle. If that third angle is negative, then we've just ruled out the second triangle. If it's positive, there's a second triangle and we're going to continue to solve it. So I'm going to work these out obviously with you, but I want you to see what it is in words in case you get stuck and you need to go back to it. Audrey.
B1.
Yeah.
Minus 180.
Other way around, but yeah.
180 minus B1.
Is our possible second triangle's B angle.
Equals B2.
Yep.
B2. So if B2 is positive.
No, the last, sorry, if B2, yeah.
If there is a B2.
Then there's the second triangle.
If B2 is negative, then there's no B2. B2 being the second triangle.
B2 being the second triangle. So B2 will always be positive because it's going to be 180 minus the first angle. It's when I subtract that, and they're going to give you an original angle. When I subtract those two from 180, if that third remaining angle is positive, then there's a second triangle. If that third remaining angle is negative, then it's no second triangle.
So B1, so 180 minus B1 equals B2. 180 minus B1 minus B2.
No, 180 minus B1 equals B2. That is correct. That's our second triangle. Now we're done with B1.
Okay.
That went to the first triangle. To find the last angle in the second triangle, we're going to do 180 minus, they're going to give you one angle to start with, minus that, minus the B2 that we found, and then that remaining angle. So it depends on what letters you're given. That's why I don't want you to get too hung up on the B1 and the B2, because I could give you B and then you're finding A1 and A2. When you go to find the third angle of the second triangle, that's the one that will either be positive or negative. We're going to work through it, okay? Let's do an example so that you can see, and then hopefully we're going to do 3 examples, one of each different case. Here's the first one. Given that A is 22 meters, B is 12 meters, and A is 42 degrees. And again, if the triangle helps you, and in this case I think it's probably better to draw your triangle because you need to know based on the information that's given what you got. So I get that side A is 22, side B is 12, and angle A is 42. So this is 2 sides and the non-included angle. I have side angle here. This is when I have to check for my ambiguous case. So you have to know what you're given to know if you need to check for your ambiguous case. If you were given side angle, you have to check for the ambiguous case. If you're giving the other information, angle, side, or what else did we get? Side, angle, then no ambiguous case. But if you're given side angle, you have to assume there could be a second triangle here. So I'm going to start by finding the one angle I can find. I have one complete ratio in A, right? So A is always what that is for both triangles. It doesn't change. The given information is true for both triangles, okay? But I can find B here because I have the side B. So I'm going to say A over sine of A equals B over sine of B. A is 22, angle A is 42, B is 12, and then we're going to call this B1 because we're going to assume there's a second triangle. Now I'm going to solve this. I'm going to cross multiply. Oops. And divide. And this time, it's a little different than what we did yesterday because that just doesn't say B equals that. It says sine of B equals that. So I'm going to get 12 times the sine of 42 divided by 22. And this is 0.36498, so on and so forth. That is not angle B, right? That's the sine of B. So if I want to get the actual angle, what do I have to do?
Minus 180.
Not yet. We haven't gotten the angle yet. We have to get the actual angle. That's just the sine of angle B. I still need to figure out what's B. Good. So I'm going to do sine -1 of that value. I'm going to keep that value. I don't want to round it. So in the calculators, there's usually an A and S button that will pull the previous answer. That's what you want to use.
Why do you do sine -1?
Because that's not the angle, right? That's the sine of the angle. When we're looking for the angle, we do the inverse buttons. If you look back on all the stuff we did yesterday, it said B equals or A equals. It didn't say sine of B equals or sine of A equals.
So anytime it has like a sign in the letter,
You have to do the inverse function. Yep.
Wait, but why are we using B1?
Because we're not done yet. We haven't even gotten B1 yet.
No, after the first thing, why are we using B1 if we don't even have B or B2?
That's what we're finding. We haven't even talked about the second triangle yet. We're just solving.
There's 2. We already assumed that there's 2.
We are assuming that is 2, but this is still just the first one. In order to find the angle, you have to do the inverse sign. We're just finding the angle. Whether there's one triangle, two triangles, three triangles, doesn't matter. If you have a statement like this that says sine of an angle equals that, you haven't solved for the angle yet. To solve for the angle, you have to do the inverse buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're saying this is B1. So I'm going to come up here on the right-hand side to remind myself that I think there's going to be a B1, angle B1. I think there's going to be a side C1. I think there's going to be, what else am I missing? An angle C1. Those are the three things I'm missing. And then I'm going to assume there's a second triangle, which would mean there's an angle B2, a side C2, and an angle C2. I already know B1, 21.41 degrees.
And because we're given big A, little a, there's no A1, A2.
Correct. That's the same for both triangles.
So if we're given
Whatever you're given, same for both.
ratio, that's our constant.
No matter what you're given, those things don't change. So A doesn't change, side B doesn't change, and angle A doesn't change. It's true for both. Only the things you find could have two.
Okay.
Good? Okay, I'm going to come back. I haven't finished triangle 1, but I'm going to remind myself that I think there could be a second triangle here. So I'm going to immediately say if there is a B1, then B2 would be 180 minus that. So 180 minus 21.41 is 158.59. 180 minus what you find.
Oh, okay.
Now, if this angle plus the angle that they give you is bigger than 180, that last angle would be negative and there'd be no second triangle.
Plus?
Yeah? If I took 158.59 and I added it to 42 and I subtract that from 180, right?
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to be negative. You see that?
Oh.
So if I just add these two together and that's bigger than 180, I'm done. There's no second triangle.
Yay.
So 158 plus 42 is bigger than 180, yes? Okay, 158.59 plus 42 gives me 200 degrees. That would mean angle C2 is 180 minus 200 degrees. So as soon as you see that it's bigger than 180, I know there's no second triangle. I need to finish the first one, but I know there's no second one.
Okay. So you're given what you're given.
Yep,
Those don't change
correct,
at all.
correct.
Then you use your ratio. You said what do you want to say is your ratio?
Yep.
9. And then in this case, you divide the coefficient of sine to get, and you do the inverse to get B1.
Which will always happen in these scenarios.
Okay.
Yep,
And then from there, you subtract that from 180 to find B2.
correct.
Add
If
B2
B2,
to
whatever
the
you're
angle
given,
You're given,
Mhm.
because it only works with side angle.
correct.
And if the B2 plus the given angle are greater than 180.
No
it would
second
be
triangle.
negative, and there's no second triangle.
Correct.
If it's less than 180.
Then we would
it's
keep
a
going.
triangle, and you continue to solve for both triangles.
Correct. Which you're going to see. I'm going to do it with you. But yes, that is right.
So that's why the ambiguous cases only work with sides and angles. 'Cause
Correct.
You're only given one angle and not two.
Correct.
Okay, now that answers all the questions.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I ruled out the second triangle, but I'm not done with the first triangle. I still have to find C1, side C1 and side C2. I mean, angle C1. Okay, I obviously have to find the angle first. So angle C1 is going to be 180 minus angle A, which is 42, minus B1, which is 21.41. 180 minus 42 minus 21.41. And I get 116.59 for angle C1.
Because we rounded that, can we still use it?
You're going to have to use it. So remember yesterday I said there's going to be times when you don't have a choice. This is going to be one of those because in order to find C, I have to use C, angle C. Yeah. Did you say why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right, so now last step is use the information that was given to you. So the A, 22 over the sine of 42 equals side C1 over the sine of angle C, which we did round. Ideally, we wouldn't use it, but we have to. Cross multiply.
Do you still have to put C1 even though we know there's not a C1?
No, it's fine. On the home, well, let me finish this and then I'll say that because I don't want to confuse anybody. 22 sine 116.59 divided by sine of 42. C1 equals 29.40.
So now from here, because we're just solving for the first triangle, it's gonna be like we did the first few triangles.
Right, so now I'm done. Once you find those three things, you're done.
So it's only half of it that's, the first half is different than the second half, if it's not the two triangles.
If it's not two triangles, the first half is exactly like we already did. You're just given different kinds of information. Yeah. So on your homework, the web assignment is going to give you only one option for one triangle. On a second triangle, it's going to give you two things to fill out. So you know it's a second triangle. I don't want you to get a false sense of hope because the test will not be like that. So the test on this question is going to give you 6 blanks. All the ones and all the twos. And if there exist 2 triangles, you're going to fill in all 6. If there's only one triangle, you're only going to fill in the ones. And then on the other ones, you're going to put no triangle. Okay? And if there's no solution, which is the third option, you get really, really lucky because you don't have to do any work. If there's no solution, then you would put no solution in all 6 spots. So just keep that in mind. Like when you're going to do the homework, don't give yourself that false sense of hope that you're going to be like, oh, I know there's 2 triangles because they gave me the 6 spaces to fill. That's not how it's going to be for your test. All right. Example 4. Solve the triangle. A, side A, 15, side B, 25, angle A, 85 degrees. I know this is side angle 1 because we're at that point in the notes, but this is going to all get mixed together. So keep in mind that I have to know that that's side angle because it's the angle that's not included that was given to me. So which one is my completed ratio? A, so I'm going to do 15 over the sine of 85 equals the only one that I can solve, B, which is 25 over the sine, and we're going to call it B1 to remind ourselves to go back and look for B2. Cross multiply and divide. 25 sine 85 divided by 15, and I get the sine of B1 equals 1.66 and so on. I have to do sine negative 1 to solve for B, and what happens? What happens if I hit sine negative 1 of 1.6?
No solution.
The calculator's going to yell at you. Like, hey, dummy, don't forget, sine can't be bigger than 1.
Oh, yeah.
So there is no triangle.
Yay.
Yeah, and you go, woo-woo!
Wait,
Yeah.
why can't sine be bigger than?
Because then you're saying that the opposite side is bigger than the hypotenuse, and that's not possible, right?
Oh, yeah, why can't you?
Cosine and sine have to be smaller than 1. Yep.
Miss Chris Weiser,
Yeah.
on the calculator, how do you put your answer into a sine negative 1? Like without having to erase it?
So which calculator do you have, Nate? Do you have the TI?
Yeah.
Above the little button that looks like this on the bottom right is ANS. That pulls up your previous answer. So I would hit second, sine, second, that little negative button, and hit enter. It will bring back the last answer.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
You with me? Yeah? Okay, so one of 3 options, right? So what do we think the last one's going to be? The options were 1 triangle, no triangle, or 2 triangles. Take a deep breath.
And are they always going to be written like how these ones are written?
I actually I don't know how we're gonna format our test. I'm assuming they're gonna be written just like that, where you're given the values like A, B, C. Yeah.
That tells you that it's like side.
So 12, 31, angle A, 20.5. Again, we have both A's, okay? And that could change. Like you could have both B's, you could have both C's. It's just that whatever angle you find first would be your whatever 1 and whatever 2. So I'm going to do 12 over the sine of 20.5 equals B, which is 31, over the sine of B1. Again, reminding me to go back and check for the second triangle. Huh? Oh, sorry. Cross multiply 31, sine of 20.5 equals 12, sine of B1. And then divide by 12. I get sine B1 equals 0.9047, so on. So I'm going to do sine negative 1. I'm going to pull it down that answer so that it's kept exact. $64.78. And I'm going to say that's B1. So then I'm going to assume there's a second triangle, and for that one I'm going to call it B2. It's 180 minus B1, 64.78. 115.22. Now add 115 to 20.5, and it's not bigger than 180 this time. So I know there's going to be a second triangle. You said wait? Yeah. Find angle C2. I'm going to do 180 minus the 115.22, which is your B1, or B2, sorry, minus the A that's given, which is 20.5. So once you find B2, you're going to subtract that and the angle you're given from the original thing from 180 to get that third angle, which is C2, 44.28. Now I could go back and finish triangle 1, or I could finish triangle 2. The order here doesn't matter. Since I just got C2, I'm going to finish triangle 2. So I still use the information that's given. 12 over the sine of 20.5 equals, I want to find C2. So I need side C2 over the sine of angle C2, which is 44.28. Cross multiply.
Is there an A to it? No.
The A is the one that was given, so there's not a 1 and a 2 of that. Whatever's given, there's not a 1 and 2. It's what you find. So I get C2 equals 12 sine 44.28 divided by sine 20.5. And C2 is 23.9229, so 23.92. Now I gotta go back and finish triangle 1. So from triangle 1, I'm still missing both the C's. For angle C1, I'm gonna subtract 180 minus the 20.5 I'm given, minus B1, which is 64.78. And C1 equals 94.72. And then the last thing I have to find for that first triangle is side C1. So I still use my original ratio, 12 over the sine of 20.5 equals side C1 over the sine of 94.72. Cross multiply. And divide. Sine 94.72 divided by sine 20.5. And C1 is 34.15. If I included units, all the sides would be meters, and obviously all the angles would still be degrees. You will see in your homework that sometimes you're going to given these angles in degree minute second notation. Remember if it said like 15 degrees, 30 seconds, that you have two choices. Either convert it using your graphing calculator, using the little degree and the tick mark, or take that, divide it by 60, and you would get this is 15.5, sorry. So they are all, I think all the ones I saw anyways, were ones that would, when you divide by the 60, they terminate, so you should be able to do that. Just don't freak out when you see the degree minute second notation. Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a simple answer, but I'm kind of confused on how you know like which triangle you're working on.
So the three pieces of information they give you at the beginning are going to split and go to both, because they're used both. That's part of the triangle that you already know. When you find the first angle, so in both these cases it was B1, but let's say I was given both information about B and I find A1. Whatever angle you get given first, you're going to name that letter 1. And then that, and I would literally split my paper and say that that only carries down to this information. So when I solve for B1 here and I get B1 is 64.78, I can only use that angle for the first triangle. Then I subtract it from 180, and that becomes my second B, which is B2, and that can be only used for the second triangle. But this first bit of information that we get at the beginning, this A full ratio, we use for both.
Okay, that makes sense.
Does it? Okay, you're welcome. All right, so the good news is what's left is easy. It's area. Oh, wait, did I do... So I will start with those next examples. We have now done everything we needed to do to get through the homework, okay? Because you had one case, no solution, one case, one solution, one case, two. I'll go back to those practice ones tomorrow. But area of the oblique triangle is so easy, okay? You will be given side angle side. 2 sides and the included angle. So 2 lowercase letters and 1 capital letter. And then you literally plug them into this equation. It is 1/2 the product of the sides times the sine of the angle. So although this changes, the letters honestly don't even matter as long as you understand that that's what you're doing. 1/2 the product of the sides times the sine of the angle. So when I look at this, and oblique means non-right. That's why we're doing it. It's not 1/2 base times height anymore. So it would say find the area of the triangle and then round to 2 decimal places. Notice what you're given. It's not going to trick you. If you're using this formula, you're going to get given that kind of information. 2 sides and the included angle. So if I want to write this formula, it would be 1/2 BA or AB times the sine of C. As long as you have one of each letter, you have the right amount of information. So this is 1/2 52 times 90 times the sine of 102. And you can do that in any order you want. You could multiply the whole thing out using your calculator. Just change this to 0.5. And I get 2,288.87, and this would be meters squared. Hi, Mr. Saxton.
Except with the parentheses.
It doesn't matter, just multiply it out.
Everything's getting divided by 2.
So you can't divide the individual parts by 2, each of them. You can cut one of those things in half and then multiply it. Or you can multiply the things at the right and then cut it in half.
Like if I do the sine of 102
Yeah,
and then multiply, like do that individually right there.
sure.
Multiply 52 by 90,
Yeah,
multiply those two together,
yeah,
cut it on that.
sure.
'Cause
Or
everything
you
has to
literally
cut in half.
type this, 0.5 times 52 times 90 times sine 102, and then you hit equals.
Oh,
That's it.
yep, that
Yep.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True to form, overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
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 But yes, the way you said it would work. You just can't cut each of them in half and then multiply them together.
No.
It's not, you can't distribute the 1/2.
I like fractions going, that's also my idea, was just multiply them all.
Totally fine. Multiply this, divide by 2. That works too. Yep. So this would be 1/2 AB sine of C. So 1/2, 24, 18, sine of 80. And then again, you could type it in, 0.5 times 24 times 18 times the sine of 80. 212.718, so 72. This time it's yards squared. Super easy. I would say usually the challenge is remembering the formula, but you live during the COVID age, so you get a reference sheet. So you're going to put those little formulas on your reference sheet, okay? Because when we get to A2, we're going to learn one more area, okay? But when you're given side angle side, like you were just given, that you're going to use this one.